Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. Excited to have you here this morning or afternoon, I guess, depending on where you live. We're going to get started in just 1 minute. We know it takes a little bit of time for everybody to leave one meeting and join the next. So excited to have you all here. We'll get started in just 1 minute. While we're doing that, let's go ahead. Shika, if you want to share your screen and open up the first slide of the deck, we can get ready to go.
Yes, moment.
Lovely. Well, while we get let's go ahead and put that in presentation mode. While we're getting our presentations set up, we'll just take care of a couple housekeeping items. We will be sending a recording of this webinar within a couple days, so be on the lookout for that. Also, there's a lot of ways that you can interact with this session. There's a Q&A chat panel across the top. There's also chat. Feel free to use either one of those. If you have questions, you can again use either chat or Q&A, whichever one you feel more comfortable with. We'll make sure that we're getting to those along the way. We're scheduled for an hour. We do have a dedicated question section at the end, but that doesn't mean you need to wait. If you'd like to ask anything along the way, please drop a note and we'll be sure to try to get to those as we can. And with that, let's go ahead and officially kick off this webinar on hands-on visual creation and corporate-ready tools using AI.
Right. Let me just. Yeah.
So a tiny bit about Infopro Learning, and I think it was pertinent to lead with this webinar. You know, what we say is technology changes fast, but humans don't. We're here for both. We work with large enterprise organizations to tackle any type of learning program that they might have. Now, in this webinar, we're talking a lot about AI, but I think it's very important to point out that at Infopro Learning, we believe there is no such thing as AI does all of my work. We are firm believers as human in the loop, and you will see that as we go through this presentation, the importance of having the person drive AI and drive those tools. Obviously, you recognize the importance of that, which is why you're on this call today. So we're extremely happy to have you, and we look forward to seeing you along the way. Shika, let's go to the next slide. A little bit of the agenda. You can see we have a packed house. We're going to really try to get into as many examples as we can. We know that talking in theory doesn't always work, especially with these things. You want to actually see how it's being worked, how it's being done. So we're going to focus a lot of our time today on showcasing the work that we've developed using AI and actually even showcasing how we use the tools. At the end, we have a very interesting section called myth busting, which is going to cover some of the more common myths that we hear when we talk to clients about leveraging AI. Some introductions. I'm Nolan Haupt, the Senior Vice President here at Infopro Learning. Kicking us off, we have Murdu Talukdar joining us. Sorry, Murdu. A long morning. Joining us, she's the Vice President of Workforce Performance. Then we have Shika Pundir as Art Director. So really what you're looking at here, if you're me, the not smart guy, and then you have the ladies who are the very smart and talented ladies. So I promise that I have like one slide left and I'm going to hand it over to these smart ladies who have literally spent 15, 20 years in the talent development space, specifically focusing in on corporate training and corporate development. Many of these people, I've been with Infopro 15 years. Many of these people have been with me and I've known them for quite a long time. And a lot of them have held just about every role that there is. You know, Murdu's obviously a VP with us right now, but started in ID, has really done a little bit of everything, which is why I think there's such a good lineup for today's presentation.
Thank you, Nolan.
Now, I put this slide here. Oh,
Yep.
Sorry,
Let's
Shika,
move
can
to
you
the
advance?
next one. Yeah. Oh, the slide hasn't moved for us, Shika. We need to go to the next one.
Oh,
One four.
there we go. So
Yeah.
I put this I put this slide on here not to brag, believe it or not. I put this slide on here to just let you know that I know one of the common barriers to AI is our company just won't let us do it. And this slide is definitely not a list of all the companies that we're using AI with. So don't interpret it to mean that. But what you should take away is that Infopro Learning has designed their AI practice around what is considered compliant for some of these world's largest organizations that are heavily regulated. You've got airlines and railways, you've got IT, telecom, you've got finance, you've got pharma, healthcare, government, you name it, and we're working in the most compliant industries. In each of them, we've been able to find a way to leverage AI to use those. So a lot of what you're going to see today is not some type of bootstrapped method to leverage AI in your workforce. These are tried, tested, bulletproof strategies that you can implement. Now, we understand that it doesn't necessarily mean that you can use AI in your company. You need to talk to your team to understand the security concerns there. But everything you see today, again, has been tested and measured to meet the strictest standards in security and compliance.
Great. And since we would be spending a good amount of time with this lovely audience today, I thought I'll quickly share a couple of points, additional points about myself and my role in this webinar itself, outside of what Nolan already suggested. So you all got my name. I'm Ridu, and I think I'm really excited to be a part of this conversation with Nolan and Shikha. And a lot of work I do here revolves around helping learning teams rethink, how learning experiences are designed, how they are scaled and adapted for, different changing needs and evolving expectations. So naturally, I spend a lot of time thinking about workflow transformation, like Nolan suggested, learning agility, and what the future of L&D starts to look like in an AI-enabled world. And honestly, I think that's why this particular conversation feels incredibly relevant right now, because AI is not just changing the tools, it's really changing how learning teams operate and how they create. And with Nolan and myself, Shikha, who's been doing some fantastic work exploring AI-powered creative workflows and content creation. Shikha, over to you for a quick introduction, and then we move on to our next slide.
Thank you, Mridu. Thank you, Nolan. And hi, everyone. I am Shikha. I am art director at Infopro Learning, and I have around 15 years of experience across advertising, web, and e-learning industry. I am really passionate about growing organizations through my design that just don't look good, but work under the surface, like on the behavior of their employees and how they think, design thinking, which actually and ultimately leads to increase in ROI and helps in growing the organization. So that's my role, and I'm really excited to kick off this webinar and showcase you the hands-on on AI tools.
Thanks, Shikha. Let's get started and let's move on with a quick question for all of you here attending today. And I really want honest answers in the chat, right? So, how long does it typically take you or your teams to create one polished learning asset? Let's start with that, right? And when I say a learning asset, it could be a simple training video, it could be, an onboarding module, it could be a visual heavy learning experience. So how long does it really take you? Would love to see your responses on the chat window. Is it a few days? Is it 2 weeks? Is it a month? Let's take a few seconds here.
And what are your thoughts, Mridu? And by any chance, Nolan, if you're still here, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it has drastically changed. I wouldn't say increase or decrease, that's a dead giveaway, but it's drastically changed from what it was probably a year ago, probably what it was 6 months ago. That's how I would look at it, because the pace at which it's going up, it's crazy. It's super fast, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not able. Oh, I see some responses here, potentially 6 to 8 weeks.
I can't
Okay.
see any responses because I'm sharing my screen. You'll have to do that.
That's fine. Yeah, no worries. Okay, I think people have started dropping in their comments.
Yeah, so it seems like we're looking at, weeks, several weeks.
Mostly weeks.
I was going to be a smart aleck and just respond with too long, but I didn't think that would be helpful. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it looks like several weeks, to create a video.
Weeks, yeah. Yeah. And I think honestly, this is probably the reality most learning teams are currently operating in, right? But if I talk about business expectations, I think they have accelerated dramatically. And unfortunately, production workflows have not. And I think that's what's happening today. What's happening today is that the learning teams are being asked to operate at modern business speed. However, they're still using the legacy production systems, right? And I think that's what is really creating enormous friction. Because, while you're still building version one somewhere, sometime, the business has already moved to a version two or a version three. There's this thing, right? I mean, you really know when a stakeholder comes to you and says, can we launch this by Friday? And the production team at the back end timely quietly whispers, absolutely, Friday next quarter, something in that direction. So it's kind of really going up when you talk about speed. But these numbers were just our starting point, right? The weeks and the days and the hours. But what we want to now show you is the new baseline we can begin or we should start looking at. Shika, over to you. I know you have an interesting slide coming up where you want
Yes,
to show us
absolutely.
some samples and walk us through it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I was dying to, for my turn to speak on this because as an art director, I am, living these examples on daily basis. And I can, with my experience, I can just tell that earlier, it used to be, weeks and months as well to create these kind of illustrations and, samples. But with AI doing so much of production work and with the, launching of so much AI tools, we have, reduced this production time to just few days. And with this, I would like to again ask both of you, Nolan and Ritu, that what do you think? These illustrations, how much time it took us to finish these illustrations? I mean, it's the whole lot of tech. I'll sharing with in a few seconds, but it's a learning of about 20 minutes. What do you think? How much time it took us to finish these illustrations?
That's a difficult question. You said it's 20 minutes learning
Yes.
time. I don't know if I can take a guess. Dolan, would you want to? Okay, just take a guess.
Uh, 5 days? I don't, I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. It's difficult.
Is just a guess or you have actually listened our conversation before this webinar? So it is actually a few days. It's just in a 4 days, my team has finished the entire deck of these illustration. It's all custom looking, right? Earlier we
Yep.
used to take around weeks or a month, to finish these illustrations. But with the help of AI tools, the time has reduced a lot. So the production hours is decreased, which is, every organization would want to work in this way, this modernized workflow. So this is today's work.
Yeah. Great. So, Shikha, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is a direct result of an AI assisted workflow where ideation, iteration, and
Yes.
refinement
Yes.
are happening much, much faster, right? And honestly, I think that's the key shift we're looking at, and that's what we're covering today.
Yes.
And and I think more than a faster creation, it's faster iteration, right? We don't get the perfect output at the first
Yes.
round,
No.
right? It has to be multiple iterations, and that's the process. I think that's become much faster because how I look at it is historically, experimentation is expensive, right? It takes a lot of time. Every design revision meant more time and more approvals, more reviews, and more production cycles. So teams started learning to play safe, and play differently. But AI changes that economic of experimentation altogether. And when experimentation, I think, becomes cheaper and faster, I believe creativity expands. Would you agree to that?
Yes.
Because,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that brings, yeah, and I think that brings us to the next question. Why does this shift matter so strategically right now at this point in time? Right? Why does this really matter? And I think here's where, right, what's fundamentally changing. Like I said, for decades, enterprise learning production followed a very predictable model. We had specialists and we had handoffs and we had sequential workflows and review cycles. And to be fair, earlier, these were all designed for stability, right? But today's business rewards adaptability. And that's, I think, a key differentiator, stability versus adaptability. And that's where traditional workflows have, started to break. Because what organizations or enterprises now need is more content and faster updates and more personalization, etc. At the same time, the teams are being asked to do more with leaner resources. So what AI changes, I think, Shikha Nolan, is not simply the speed, right? But it also changes, the workflow itself. And I often call this the workflow compression, right? The distance
And
between idea generation. Yeah.
yeah, in easy
And also
language,
the
we can
execution.
say, sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt you, Vidhu, but in easy language, we can say it changes how we think, how we respond.
absolutely. So, taking it from there, Shikha, I think this brings us directly to the core challenge most organizations are still trying to solve, which is our problem statement that we are addressing today through this webinar. If you could move on to our next slide, I think that's an uncomfortable truth that you see on the screen, right? Like I said, L&D teams are not short on ideas. They're short on the ability to operationalize those ideas fast enough, right? And that's a very different problem because learning teams, all of us today, we are being asked to balance almost impossible expectations somewhere. And it's all faster and better and more engaging and more personalization, etc. And somehow to do all of that without dramatically increasing timelines and budgets and team capacities, traditional workflow simply went built, and every stage introduced friction. And meanwhile, the business kept accelerating. So the most important or the most learning pipelines still move at traditional production speed, like I said. So the good news is that we now have AI to layer right into this. So most organizations have access to AI tools, but the misconception is having access to AI tools is not same as transformation, right? And experimentation is not same as operationalization. And honestly, I think many organizations are stuck here today. They have adopted the tools, but they haven't redesigned the workflows, as an example. So instead of transforming the system, they're simply accelerating isolated tasks, right? Cross functional, lot of silos, and lack of cross functional alignment in terms of, the system's thinking or the workflow itself. So, like we mentioned here at the end, and its goal for all for us to take your focus to, it's not really a capability issue as such. It's more about the gap is more about the workflow and the organizations that are able to solve that workflow challenge are the ones that will define the next era of learning transformation, right? And that's exactly why this webinar, is not just about individual AI tools or, quick creative hacks, but more about demonstrating how AI can become more, part of a structured and a scalable learning workflow, not a, what do I say, a disconnected experimentation. And Nolan was introducing Infopro, and at Infopro, what we have been actively evolving are frameworks and workflows around this through our IDF approach, right? We have our own development framework that is in, the intelligent design framework, where AI supports the overall learning lifecycle and not just isolated production tasks. And Shikha Nolan, I think that's really the larger shift that we are helping organizations start thinking about, right? And
Yes.
I think this will be a really valuable discussion. And if you get a chance, probably we should just spend some time as a follow-up webinar where we talk through the end-to-end framework and process and integrate everything as one big piece, right?
I
So,
think people would like to
yeah,
hear about your next webinar then, because it majorly
yeah,
talks about the workflow. So it will help them to,
absolutely,
change their way of working and change their workflow style. So it's great.
absolutely. Great. So, now, if I need to talk about it, what does a reimagined AI enabled creative team really look like, right? So we call this the creative Avengers, right? And thank you, Shika. I think she's the one who came up with this beautiful slide and the terminologies. So let me introduce you to what we mean by this, right? So when people first hear the phrase AI workflow, they often imagine one giant magical tool doing everything, but that's a lie, right? That's not really how powerful AI enabled production works. The best workflows actually operate more like creative ecosystems. So internally, we start thinking about these tools as specialized creative roles, Shikha, right?
Yes.
And then somewhere along the way, this became our creative Avengers. So let's meet the team, and then I'll hand it over to Shikha for the most exciting part of this session. I think the first one is Midjourney. So actually, I would want to, it kind of helps us transform prompts into visual worlds, mood boards, concepts, aesthetic direction. So that's a great tool. Next, we're talking about Colossyan. So Colossyan, I think, becomes a presenter or actor rather, right? So it brings the human element, the human presence, it brings in the voice, it brings in the communication, and it most important, right? It brings in the engagement into the overall experience. And then, of course, we have Kling, which Shika, that's something I made up. Correct me. I think Kling becomes your cinematic director at the end of the
Correct.
day, right?
Yes. Absolutely correct.
So yeah, so it adds a lot of
But
motion, it lots of
unfortunately,
pacing. Yeah.
unfortunately, Mridu, our actor is a little bit, shy and denied few minutes before we started the webinar, and
Mhm.
and I'm talking about Colossian, our actor, because. Due to just some technical glitch, we won't be able to give the hands-on demo on this tool. But we still have Midjourney, we
Oh,
still have Kling, and
mhm.
we'll be performing on both the tools.
Great. But this is a perfect example of a real life situation, isn't it?
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
I think and I
It
think
can
all the more
happen,
reasons.
because it's an AI. It's a tool ultimately. It's a technology.
Yeah, and I think that also teaches us, right? We should not and cannot be just dependent on
Yes.
one tool, and that's why I think we rightly mentioned it's an ecosystem that holds, everything together somewhere. So great. So these are the three that I think we wanted to, use hands-on today. Let's move Colosan out of the scene today. Maybe we'll pick it up next time when we meet you guys again. So, Shikha, I think it's your time and you're the hero for the next part, walking us through what it really looks like.
We still have this question to ask before, showing the hands-on activity. Which AI tools are you guys currently using and, you have in your creative toolkit? I would like to hear your thoughts. If, the audience can put your thoughts in chat box. I mean, we are going to showcase the live demo of Midjourney and Kling, but if you have other AI tools in your toolkit which you use on a day-to-day basis, would like to hear thoughts. And Mridu, you have to tell me if people are putting
I will.
any, mentioning any tools in the chat box because I'm not able to see the screen.
No, we have Copilot, we have ChatGPT coming up, we have Gemini, we
Okay.
have Claude. Yeah, yeah. Let's give it a few more seconds, and then I think we are all there. We have Firefly. Great. I mean, this also, I think, shows our audience and us, where would we say our organization is today with AI? Are we still exploring? Are we experimenting? Are we actively scaling or still evaluating where all of these fit? So great. Yeah, we do have a variety of tools, Shika, like I mentioned. Yeah,
I'm assuming people are putting in the chat box.
they are. They are. Yes.
So, okay, moving to the prompt engineering part. This is the hottest and the very demanding topic these days because, without this, we can't use AI tools. Ultimately, AI tools work on prompts. So my go-to formula is, creating or generating any prompt is subject, environment, style, mood, purpose, and the size. So it whole, create a perfect or accurate prompt. But as AI is, it's just a technology, so we can't fully rely on it. We have to keep, giving, we have to keep giving the prompts to the tools, and then, wait for the accurate results what we have in our mind. So, in short, we have to, think like a film director, not writer, not, like a writer. So, for example, if we take cyber attack awareness, um, I mean, if you're going to generate a video on this topic, what prompts we'll have to put in any AI tool? Like we have to put the subject, the environment, style, and mood. Along with that, we have to insert our purpose, why we are, generating this prompt, or for which purpose we are generating this prompt. So, for example, if in case of cyber attack awareness, it could be any subject. Like we can put that we are going to create a corporate employee reviewing suspicious phishing email. So it could be, the setup could be anything. It could be a corporate office, it could be home, anything, because incidents can happen anywhere, right? So, and with that, accordingly, we'll set an environment. For styling, we have to give the indication to the AI tool that we are going to, whether we want a cinematic kind of style, we want ultra detailed, or we want something else. With this, we also have to set the mood, like, if we want to show tension in the environment, or we want to show some suspicious activity in the environment, and so on. Ultimately, towards the end, we have to put the purpose, because, like, why we are creating this, whether we want to create a visual training, a corporate training, or we have to create some kind of video or for some ad purpose, or any kind of purpose, right? We have to give indication to the prompt. So you can see the live example of the prompt at the bottom. And with this, we also have to give size to the AI tools. Like we want in a ratio of 16:9, we want in a portrait mode, or some other size.
Great. I do want to add a point here, Shikha. This is more from my personal experience here at Infopro, working with my teams and the cross-functional teams. I think one of the biggest misconceptions about AI is that prompting, that you just explained so beautifully, is somehow a very highly technical skill. There was a time when people were actually skeptical of, oh, I don't know to write prompts. I'm not a prompt engineer. Do I have to do a formal course? And, how do I go about it? But I think it's a real big misconception. It's not, it's not a very highly technical skill. It's a skill that can easily be acquired with a little bit of practice and a little bit of intent and a little bit of, attention to detail. And prompting, I think, is a really structured, creative direction. So the audience here, I'm sure you guys would have written learning objectives sometimes. So what do you do even if you're not writing a prompt? You just create learner personas, you define the tone, you define experiences, right? So you already understand the foundations of, a good prompting, a good prompt exercise. And because the quality of AI output depends heavily on the clarity or the intent, I think that is, the most important part. And, because vague prompts would end up giving you vague experiences. And I think the example that you just used, Shikha, about cybersecurity, I mean, probably once upon a time, and that for me means probably a year ago, right? If I just put in a prompt, Google at that point probably would just, if I just say create a cybersecurity image as an example, right? What would it typically give me? It'll just probably give me something very typical, right? Featuring a mysterious hacker in a hoodie surrounded by some glowing screen around, right? So
By the way, Google
apparently, I
still does
think
that. It
it does
still does
that.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's as if the entire internet agreed that's cybersecurity branding, so to say, and that's what has changed. And I think with that mindset in place, let's actually now watch how quickly this creation process begins to unfold, right? So yeah, let's move there.
With this, I think we can start our live demo, and I just need few minutes. I'll unshare my screen. I hope it's okay if I switch off my camera so that I can see the audience and, easily showcase the.
Sure. So for the audience here, till the time Shikha is pulling up, her relevant screens, what excites you the most about AI in learning? Any one thing that makes to the top of the list in terms of where you really see AI learning or what excites you personally? Feel free to put your comments and we can have a discussion later in the day. We see a screen, Shikha. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So let's
Possibilities are
get started.
endless.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
excited to show the live sample. So to respect the time of this webinar, I have already created a dummy transcript, a dummy script, and the few prompts to generate images and videos. And as I just mentioned, our today's topic is phishing awareness. So we'll just do the copy pasting of the prompts, and then I'll share my few tips and tricks how I generate the images accurately. So as you can see in the prompt itself, I've mentioned everything like this environment, purpose, style, mood, and everything. It is mentioned there along with the styling. But just a tip from my side, because I've been using these tools for quite a long time. And the tip is before putting any prompt or maybe after putting it, but if you want to give, a proper indication to the tool that you want your imagery to look something like you have in your mind, you have seen some reference anywhere and you want your images to look like those. So you can go here, you can just upload the picture and put your picture on the style reference. So it automatically takes the style from here and generate accordingly. So we'll have to wait for a few seconds. And I know it's the most irritating, part of our jobs to wait.
It's generating something.
To my surprise, it didn't take much time. We'll have to choose out of 4 options. Unlike us, AI tool gives us options. So we'll have to choose one option. Ridu, Nolan, any preferences I can save?
Oh, well, I
Okay,
was about to
let's.
ask you, what is the basis of your selection? I mean, you would know the context and the history of the prompt, of the problem you're solving through this training, right? So,
Yes.
if I were to ask you out of the 4, if you select the second, why the second? Because to me, they don't look much different, for example, right? As an
Yes.
audience or as a learner. So, what is your selection criteria as an example?
Okay, so as we just discussed that our topic is phishing awareness, and I'm going to create a short video, kind of an ad video, which talks about phishing awareness. Maybe I can, I'll showcase the product, antivirus product towards the end of the video. It will be very short, and, since it is a video, I'll choose the most accurate shot. And as I'm going to create it in a cinematic style, I'll choose accordingly so that, I can, while putting it in Kling AI and generating the video of this image, I can, easily have that rotation angles and everything. So those are my criterias. And I think
Okay.
for that, I'll go for, I guess this one. Yeah. So we'll not take much shots. I think because it's going to be a very short video, we'll only take 4 to 5 shots. Let's go for another. And as I mentioned, every time we have to put style reference for, while generating characters, we can also put omni references and our preferences of that, relative to features of the character and things like that, we can put there.
Yeah.
Is Nolan still here?
Yeah, Nolan's here. Is this the typical speed, Shikha, what you're saying today? I heard you saying it turned out to be a little faster than what it normally is.
Yes. So it's
Okay.
it's a little bit faster today. I think God is on our side, and everybody
Oh,
knows
that's
that a
fun.
lot of people are watching us. So luckily, it is generating faster than the rest of the days. So
Yeah.
basically, while saving it, let me just talk about it a bit. Midjourney generally takes less time to generate images and videos than Kling. Kling is a little bit heavy software, and it has different modes to generate videos. Kling basically we use Kling to generate videos from images, and and the production process is little bit higher than Midjourney. So
Okay.
we'll have to show a lot of patience while using Kling AI.
But it's
And
worth
with
it.
this,
It's worth it.
it's worth it. Yes, absolutely. With the output which I will showcase towards the end, I can swear by that you'll amazed, and our audience will love it.
Mm.
With this, I've already saved the image because I see, I'll have to make a video, so I'll have to see, my rest of the images, should have same colors, should have same saturation in the image, so that video looks like, a complete wholesome. With this, I'll generate my third shot. Mridu, do you have any experience of using any AI tool, especially related to any design AI tool?
Yeah, I did try my hands on Colossyan because we were partnering with them and there were some new AI features that they came up with recently, the avatars and the coach. I did try my hands there and I found it pretty handy and useful. Yeah.
Great.
Even if I see that percentage moving, Shikha, I'm relieved. At times that just doesn't move, and that's when it gets really frustrating. But I think here it's just going up at a decent pace. So there we
Yeah.
are,
And
100%. Yeah.
see, we have options, but not the perfect ones, right? As it's AI is powerful, but it's ultimately a technology. It generates with their database memory. So every time we can't get the perfect output,
Yeah,
but with this we got the perfect one.
great. And we can't do the Colossian part right now. Posters will directly move to the Kling demo. Shika, that's what we're doing.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
you must have seen that I'm putting a 16 is to 9 towards the end of each prompt. It has a spatial indication. It creates, your photos, your images in a particular, in all, all images will generate in one particular size. It's in a landscape mode, and it will be in a 16 is to 9 ratio. So that you got consistent output.
So, Shikha, just a question out of curiosity. When you work on these prompts, obviously they're personalized for each type of product, each problem you're solving for different stakeholders. But I'm sure there would still be some common elements, some common thread that ties everything together. Is that understanding right? And how do you really keep a check and control on that? Do you have a standard set of prompts that you would have designed for yourself and your teams, and then keep personalizing or customizing it as per the problem you're solving? Is that an approach you take, or is it
Oh,
something
no.
completely different?
Not really, because every time we have to put, for every new product, we have to put, create new set of prompts. But whatever we do, so it's like that. Initially, when we get the any project, so we research based on what we have to create and whatever there in the market, what is the expectation of our clients, and then we on the basis of that research we create a few set of prompts, um, and create our
Mm.
repository, so that the output, or whatever we are creating, the ultimate output remains consistent, not uh,
Mm. Mm.
the so that something like that. So it yes, we create the repository first, and then we start using those prompts. But it is not like, it's not every time, it's not same. So for each
Understood.
project, we have to create a different set of prompts.
Okay, so where are we?
Okay, with this, I think, as we mentioned earlier, that sometimes prompts are prompts, and every time it doesn't create the perfect output, so we have to regenerate this. And here I go again. Let's see what the output comes this time.
And this is what I was referring to earlier, Shikha, about AI not giving the perfect result, and we don't expect that, but giving us iterations much, much faster than what we could do with our human mind independently, right? And that's where
Yes.
we save time and get more ideas without having to, spend excessively more time and energy. So I think you have your next set by the time I completed my sentence. Yeah.
Yes, and with AI, a lot of people have misconception that AI tools, will take our jobs. What we will do, once we introduce AI in our offices and things like that. But from my experience, I would say, if we introduce AI tools smartly, it reduces our production hours, and we can think of creative ideas, how to shape direction to our product or projects, maybe, instead of getting into the production and actually doing the manual work.
Mm. Right. Right.
With this save, I've got my perfect output, and I'll save it. I just have last one to create. So these
And when
are,
you
please go
Yeah,
ahead, Mridu.
yeah, I was just asking, just probably in a very light mode, when you're working in collaboration with a peer or a colleague, say on the same thing, how many times has it happened or does it happen that your definition of perfect is different from, your colleague's definitions? If I see four, have you been into these situations in the real life when working together on a project? Or are you mostly aligned because you know the business needs and what you're solving for?
Don't ask me that because few of my teammates are still here in this webinar and they are going to kill
Oh,
me
okay.
later because
Okay.
I'm the most difficult person to please, I guess. And, um, my team has to reiterate the work a lot of time with
Hmm.
working with me, so I'm most difficult one to please. I
Okay.
think our client gets pleased easily than me.
Okay. I'll shut up. I'll not ask any further questions on that. I think we have our image ready. Yeah.
Yes.
We are doing Midjourney now. I think somebody had a question. Which AI tool? So currently we are in Midjourney. Yeah.
And with this again, we didn't get a perfect shot, and I forgot to put the style reference as well. So you see how mandatory it is to put the style references before you actually give the prompt to AI tool.
Yeah. Shikha, do you also have a parallel copy of these? Did you save any of these in advance just as a backup?
I haven't saved these in advance, but yes, just to keep the time frame of this webinar in mind, I have already
Yeah.
created an output video, but not exactly like this. It's a little different.
Let's go with this, and then I also want to cover the next one. We have some time, but we need to cover the next tool as well. So just checking.
Yes. And you see how different it is, when you put the style reference and the output totally changes. It's a total
Yeah.
game changer. See, these tips are really helpful, when you actually giving prompt to these tools. So your output totally depends how you give command or instructions to these tools. With this, I can save the second one. I think I have all the shots ready with me. And as you
Great.
can see, these all are live generated, right?
Yeah.
Moving on to our next tool, which is Kling. So let me just talk about a bit of this tool. This tool comes with different formats. Like you can create video out of images with this mode. It has video 2.6 mode as well. It has the latest mode, which is video 3.0. And every mode has some advanced features in it. We typically go for video 2.5 turbo because that's the cheapest and the fastest one. Okay, so I
So we did
think
something
that is
similar
my
here.
previous work. Let me just refresh it. And we have our prompts ready for it, Kling as well, because you know I was concerned about the time of this webinar, so have this all prompts ready beforehand by using ChatGPT. By the way, it's again an AI tool. So we have to insert our prompt here, and we have to select images like if I select this image,
Hmm.
just so if I have to animate this shot and um, something like in a cinematic angle shot, and I want to show the whole city, camera moving from one end towards going in the middle of the city, and then zooming inside the window and showing that particular man who was working in the laptop. I'll give prompt something like this. And in this prompt also, you can see I have given the ratio, aspect ratio, which is again the similar I was giving in Midjourney, so that my, the end output remains consistent.
Yeah.
So my prompt says, cinematic angle shot of a modern city at night during heavy rain, because I was showing rain in this image. Dark storm clouds overhead, neon lit streets reflecting on wet surfaces. Camera rotates smoothly to the left. I've specifically indicated to move towards the left, shifting perspective dynamically across the skyline. Motion continues forward with smooth glide through rain, enhanced by motion blur and voluminary lighting. The camera accelerates towards the tall high rise glass building, locking onto a specific illuminated window, which, because I specifically want to, show that particular man outside the window, the camera going from outside towards window and showing the inside scene. That's why I've specifically mentioned in the prompt. And with this, I have also highlighted few other things like, ultra cinematic, the kind of style I want in the video, film trailer style, realistic lighting, shallow depth of field. These all small things are, help us to create the perfect output, basically.
Yeah.
And with this, I'll generate my video. Fingers crossed. And
Yeah.
as I already mentioned, that Kling AI is a heavy software, and it takes a longer time than Midjourney. So
And
it
I
will
think,
test our patience. It will test
yeah,
our patience
looking,
like kids.
yeah, looking at the time, I think we'll not have an opportunity to do a second iteration for today. So probably you'll have to pull up what is saved at the background, and just go with what we have right now. We're just about 5, 6 minutes left, right? And this is heavy, like you said. So let's see what it gives, or else we'll just pull up the final
Yeah,
output. Yeah.
got to, watch the time. So, okay,
Yeah.
let me pull up my screen, and let me just so a slideshow. So, because I was worried for the time of this webinar, so I've already created one output and final reveal video, from these images and things, and the video outputs of Kling AI. And here is our final reveal.
That's amazing, Shikha.
Is it really?
I mean, doing something using multiple tools and putting it up as one piece, I think that itself shows, what we watch probably is much bigger than just a demo, right? It's a proof point. It's an evidence that what modern learning workflows could really look like in a relatively short amount of time.
Yes, and this output is without interfering, without editing, without anything, because
Yeah,
towards the end you can see a glitch, in the name. Um, the name is
yeah, I
changing,
noticed
and
that.
I didn't touch it anywhere. It's just purely AI output. I just compiled by using Canva, and it's the final showcase.
Great, great. This is amazing. Thank you, Shikha, for putting in all these efforts. And I think it is not no longer about efficiency, it's more about operational agility that we're talking about. And honestly, I think this is where the biggest mindset shift needs to happen for all of us. And some of the things I've been hearing over the past months, over the past years, are actually a few myths about using AI. And I thought this is a good opportunity or a platform to kind of, bust these myths. The first one, of course, being AI removes creativity. Very common, right? I think even I thought, to be very honest with you, Shika, there was my first thought when we decided as an organization that we'll move into this direction. And today's message for me is it does not remove creativity at all. It does
Absolutely not.
remove friction, around execution. And this is probably the biggest fear that people have when they first start using, from my own example. And the fact that somehow AI makes everything generic, automated, creatively flat, but no, that's a lie. Uh, it changes where creativity happens, right? Earlier, teams brainstorm one concept because producing five probably was expensive or took a lot of time. But now teams can explore five concepts before lunch, right? That's the difference that we see as
Absolutely.
of today.
Your
And
Friday example you mentioned before the webinar.
yeah, right, right. And I think the second myth is equally important. AI creates finished work with one prompt. We just saw what happened. I don't even have to probably talk more than this. It accelerates the drafting process, the prompting process. But human intelligence, all of us, we're still needed to refine, to curate, to validate and shape. And that's the best way it should be. Otherwise, we are not needed. And that's not what any of us want at the end of the day. So it's simply not how mature teams operate. I think the first output is rarely the final output. Correct me, Shikha.
Really?
And
Yes, absolutely.
the strongest of the lot, the strongest workflows are generally highly iterative, and you will still need refinement, judgment, instructional thinking, and context, and most important, business validation. You forgot to upload something and it didn't give us the right results, so it has to be relevant. So
Yes.
that's there. And of course, moving to the third, AI will replace designers. Well, I think
Which I
I
just
would say
mentioned.
something else. Yes, yes. So designers, they evolve upward into strategic creative directors and workflow orchestrators, so to say, right? It cannot replace. So these were three things I think we all have to believe in and, keep talking to our colleagues and our team so that we keep them motivated and inspired to, continue using all of this, right? So the organizations that really succeed with AI actually won't be the ones that remove humans from the process. Then we all fail in spite of, having AI in every process, every workflow. They'll be the ones that elevate humans to higher value thinking in the process, right? Um, Moving on, Shikha, if you could help me move the slide. So a phrase we wanted to put up: don't use AI to work faster. Use AI to imagine what was impossible before. Right? Again, most important shifts organizations need to make around AI, because if we only use AI to speed up, we are probably thinking too small. Right? AI definitely improves efficiency, reduces production time, but that's only the entry point. The bigger opportunity is, being able to reimagine what learning teams can create that earlier felt impossible for all of us. And on a similar line, there is another quote we just picked, which says, the future may not belong to designers who use AI, right? it will belong to designers who direct AI. That's the core difference. Using is not what it is, directing and being the coach out there. So I think the strongest evolution moment for all of us today is historically, creative work has been execution driven. Designers have been spending an enormous amount of time manually building, editing, formatting, but AI is now changing the economics of execution altogether. And that's, I think, you know, the biggest shift that we see today, right? Quickly moving on
Yes.
to the last slide. I think we're over the hour. I'll just take, I think, the last couple of minutes is, the goal is simply not adopting, right? If you see the content development pilot, we want to see results and not the promises because, you know, the goal is building AI enabled learning capability and the different things, capability comes from workflow redesigning. It comes from operational maturity, right? It comes from experimentation, governance, and all of it. And some pilots that we do really create clarity for us. Some experiments help build confidence. And with that, I think let's close with what the future means for learning organizations overall, right? So if we just talk about us, we see AI as Infopro I'm talking about. We don't see AI as just a trend. For us, it's a fundamental shift in learning operations and our focus in helping our clients, our organizations move from experimentation to scalable transformation, right? Because the future of learning organizations will have to be faster and adaptive and personalized, and none of that starts with tools alone. And honestly, I think we're still at the beginning of what's possible, and the organizations that move early won't simply become more efficient. They'll fundamentally, I think, have to redefine how learning gets created and scaled and experienced. With that, I think, we are done. We're just over the hour. Thank you so much for your participation. We'll go into the chat. If you have any questions, we'll reach out to you. We'll share our responses. And I think you all will get a copy of this tech. So thank you once again. You have been a lovely
Thank you,
audience. And
everyone.
Shikha, thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mridu.
Take care. Bye bye.